Finally, The Flash is back with the premiere of Season 7. And wow, it's been a long time since we saw The Flash. I think Season 6 ended in April. I think it was April or May, somewhere around that time. So I did the math, and that's been almost 9 or 10 months since we've seen The Flash. And 10 months is 2 months away from being 12 months, and 12 months is a year. So since I'm so good at math, and that means that it's been almost a year since we've seen The Flash. And I mean, it feels like it's been a long time, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's been that long. But I don't know, I'm just glad to have the show back because it has been a while. And this episode, of course, like I said, is the premiere of Season 7, but it wasn't supposed to be. This episode was supposed to be the next episode in Season 6. And, you know, there's parts of it where you can definitely tell that it's not supposed to be a premiere and it didn't really feel like it. But I think for the most part, they did the best that they could to make this feel like a premiere. And some big stuff happened here that I think did really push it over to that premiere level. So I really liked it. So anyway, this episode is called All's Wells That Ends Wells. And if you watch the episode, then you know what that means. But speaking of that, spoiler warning if you haven't seen the episode yet, because we're going in depth on all the spoilers and breaking down this episode in depth. So let's get into this. So, the opening scene of the episode sees Chester. He's in Star Labs, and then he gets an alert, and there's some sort of fractal energy, so that means Eva is out doing some mirror mistress stuff. So then he has to wake up Barry, because apparently Barry has been in stasis, and that's to help save his speed. And when he gets out, obviously he wants to go take down Eva, but Chester says he only has 1% left of his speed, so he has to risk it because he's the Flash. He can't just stand by and let her do what she's going to do. So he chases after her. He gets there. And you'd think that with 1%, he wouldn't really be able to get that far, like running that much. But, you know, I'll go with it. You know, so some of the stuff here, you just got to go with it. So he goes after her. But then we see where she is. She is in a warehouse with a gang led by Sam Scudder and Rosa Dillon, aka Mirror Master, and the Top, who we saw previously in, I think it was Season 3 the last time we saw them, or maybe the first time we saw them. I don't know, but it's been a while since we've seen these characters. And we don't even see Sam Scudder. As soon as we see him, he's in pieces on the ground. He's dead because Eva has killed him. And at first, I was like, whoa, that's a pretty big thing. And I never thought of this before. Like, I never thought they would bring that character up again because Eva is basically the Mirror Master now. So I didn't think they would ever bring up that Sam Scudder Mirror Master ever again. But they did, because then they reveal that he is not actually human. Sam Scudder was actually a Mirrorverse person, like the Mirror Iris that we saw in Season 6. So he was the first creation of Eva. So he was never really human. And that was a really interesting reveal that got me really excited for this, because that was just really, really cool to find out. And I thought that was really cool. So now, of course, Rosa is all freaked out and stuff because Eva just killed her boyfriend. But then we see Seal actually go to interrogate her because she's the metahuman attorney and everything. And this is where Rosa kind of reveals her dark side, kind of. She reveals that she knew that about Sam not being human, and that she was actually working with Eva, and she knew he was going to kill him. And she has these empath-ish powers where she used to be an empath, but then she like evolved her powers to where she is now. And then that gets me thinking about like, oh, Cecile, this is probably foreshadowing to, oh, Cecile is going to level up her powers, and she's going to get to the point where Rosa is here as well. But then obviously we actually see that happen by the end of the episode, which I'll talk about in a second. Because, yeah, somehow Cecile was just all of a sudden able to figure that out. She leveled up her powers, and she was able to unleash all of her insecurities on Rosa, and it just scared her so much that she finally revealed her plan with Eva, and that there was this plane with some black hole tech that was, you know, flying out. So now the Flash and Team Flash has to go stop that, but they've got their own problems going on at the same time, because, you know, just so much stuff with the Speed Force. But let's talk about Iris first, because she has a small role in this episode, but still an interesting one. It's more just to set up for the rest of the season. So she is still trapped in the Mirrorverse, but she's starting to get delusions. Like, at first she thought she was on a date with Barry, having some big belly burger, and then all of a sudden she wasn't, because she is still trapped inside of the Mirrorverse. And we see that Mirror Iris, except it's not actually Mirror Iris, but I'm still going to call her that because that's basically what she is. But this alternate Iris inside the Mirrorverse is just haunting her with memories from her past, present, and even future. And we get a flashback to Savitar killing her, even though it wasn't actually her, it was actually HR. So that was a cool moment there. But then this doesn't really go anywhere in the episode. I mean, Iris sees Eva and she's like, I'll find a way out. And then Eva's like, nah, you won't. And then at the end of the episode, she's looking at a newspaper, and then all of a sudden it disappears on the computer. I don't really think that means anything. I think it just means like, oh, it's a computer. She's in the mirror, so all that stuff. But let's get into the big stuff of the episode, the big main storyline of the episode, where it's all about the Wells. Because we see that Dr. Harrison Wells, we got Sherlock Wells, and, of course, also HR, also this other new one, I forgot his name. But they have all come to visit Nash to help him figure out how to make the artificial Speed Force and how to make this work. And this is where they reveal to him that they need an organic source to make it work. And that organic source is Nash. So he needs to sacrifice himself to get the artificial Speed Force to work. But obviously Nash is against that because, I mean, he doesn't want to die. So he comes up with this other plan of, oh, Allegra can go and use her powers to contain Nash's multiverse particles inside the fusion sphere. So they try doing that, but then the charge starts dropping, and then it zaps Barry, and now all of a sudden Barry is passed out, and then when he wakes up, all of the different Wells are now trapped inside of Barry, and, you know, it keeps switching through them. And I think this was honestly pretty hilarious, though, getting to show off some of Grant Gustin's acting abilities, seeing him switch through the different personalities there. But then he passes out again, and then Chester and Allegra realize that Nash lied, and then so basically he comes clean, and he's like, you know, I was scared. I didn't want to die. And you can't blame him for that. Like, that'd be a big thing to do. So Allegra eventually puts the Wells back into Nash. So Barry is back as Barry again. But they still have that plane to worry about with the black hole tech. So this is when Nash decides that he has to sacrifice himself. He really has no other choice. And, you know, when it comes to the artificial Speed Force, I thought it would just be a simple thing like, oh, it's back, we're good, Barry has his speed back. But I didn't expect not only for a main character to die in this episode, but for it to be for the artificial Speed Force. Again, I didn't think it would be a big thing to get that thing to work, but it was. So Nash sacrificed himself, and I love how it rotated through the different Wells again so that each of them could kind of say goodbye to Barry. And this is actually a big moment because Wells is dying. It's not just Nash, it's all of them, because all of the multiverse of Wells were inside of Nash, and now Nash is dead. So they're all gone, and it kind of doesn't make sense because we do know the multiverse does exist, and it's kind of like a new reborn multiverse. So hopefully there are still a couple other Wells out there, but unfortunately it does seem like we're no longer going to be seeing HR or Sherlock or the original Harrison Wells. So that is really sad, and I think obviously it was a bit rushed, but it kind of had to be. So I think with what they were working with, I feel like it was earned enough to have that death and have that sacrifice. So I think it was a well worth sacrifice that Nash made there. So then he dies, but then the Speed Force is back up and running. So Barry starts running, he's got his powers back, the Flash is back, so then he takes down the plane, Argus is able to take care of the tech that was inside of there. And then this is where we basically get the ending of the episode where Barry is like, you know, I couldn't have done it without you guys. And he's talking to Chester and Allegra. And then he says like, oh, I got to tell the rest of the team about Nash and the rest of the Wells being gone now. And, you know, it's a pretty basic ending, but it does really set up for the rest of the season where they say, like, all right, what do we do next, Flash? And he's like, all right, so we got to save Iris, we got to take down Eva, and then that sets us off on the rest of this season. At least, I think for the first half will be this Mirror Mistress thing, or maybe in the first couple episodes. I'm not completely sure. But then we do get, not really post-credit scene, but like the after scene after it shows the Flash logo, and then you get this final scene where it sees Eva watching some footage that she kept looking at throughout the episode, but then she was like, nah, I'm not going to watch it. But she finally does watch it, and it shows a video of her death. And at first I was super confused by this, like, yeah, duh, of course you're dead. But then she actually explains it at the end. Like, if she hadn't said this thing at the end, then I wouldn't have understood it. But she says that she actually died, so she is actually the mirror duplicate. So the real Eva McCulloch is dead. And when she died, her real body still stayed on the outside world, but then a mirror duplicate was created and trapped inside of the Mirrorverse. So this villain is not even the real Eva McCulloch. This is the Mirrorverse version, which is pretty crazy. I mean, it's not really that big of a deal. Obviously, it's a big deal to Eva, but it doesn't really change too much about her character because she is still a duplicate. So she's basically the same person, just not the Eva McCulloch. So it was an interesting reveal, definitely to set up for the next couple episodes here. But yeah, guys, that was pretty much what happened in this episode. Again, it was a good premiere. I liked it. There were parts of it, again, that didn't really feel like a premiere, but I feel like for the most part, again, with what they had to work with, they did the best they could to make this feel like a premiere. And, you know, going into this, I wasn't really into the whole Eva McCulloch Mirrorverse storyline. I was kind of getting bored with it last season, but I think this episode really got me more into it, and I'm more hyped for next episode to see where this goes, how they conclude the story, and all that good stuff. So, guys, of course, let me know down in the comments below, what did you think about the premiere of The Flash Season 7? So crazy to think we're already 7 seasons in. So, stay tuned for my review and breakdown next week. Also, my review and breakdowns for the rest of the Arrowverse shows, including Superman and Lois, which should be up sometime soon today as well, so stay tuned for that, and also The Flash episode 2 next week, so all that good stuff. But anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and hit the subscribe button so I can keep up to date on everything that goes on in the DC life.